Beta males are initially attracted to these women but soon regret it. And the reason they do regret it is that these women take beta males for granted, and then they start to mentally abuse them. And then oftentimes what I've seen is that these masculine women lose interest in these beta males because all women aren't looking for a strong man. And then eventually they end up cheating or just casting that beta male aside. The third bullet point there, women want a man to take the lead and be the alpha in the relationship regardless if she is a feminist or not. All women want strong men. That's what they desire. A lot of these masculine women, however, strong alpha males do not want them because you don't want to be in a relationship where you've got two competing alpha personalities. An alpha male wants to dominate his sphere of influence and wants a woman who's going to be there to support him and love him and be part of his life, not to rival his life. So what happens with these alpha females or these masculine women is oftentimes they settle with beta males. Somebody that will do whatever they want, basically kiss their butt no matter what they do. And like I said, eventually that leads to problems and some type of end of the relationship. Very important here, the fourth bullet point, never sacrifice your purpose in life for a woman. And you're going to see in this story that this guy initially does this and it becomes a big problem. He sacrifices his purpose for her purpose, and then what she does is she turns around and basically shades this guy, makes fun of his career because she doesn't see him at the same stature as she and her friends and co-workers are. So never sacrifice your purpose for a woman. And the final bullet point, never let a woman or anyone else for that matter disrespect you. Find your alpha and put those people in their place, or guess what? Get rid of them, simply get rid of them. So let's jump into the story now. Starts off by saying his background. I am a 30-year-old man who was raised by a single mom. My father passed away when I was just 4 years old and my mother never remarried. She instead took on the role of head of household and did a great job. However, I've never had a strong male influence or role model in my life, and that is really critical. If you're a child of a single mother, you know, many times as women are doing their best and they're imparting on that child things they think are best for that child. However, if that child, a male child, has never had a strong male role model in their lives, they tend to basically get into a beta male track, whether consciously or unconsciously as a result. And oftentimes it's not until later in life, until they go through some life experiences, that they wake up and they find their alpha. Throughout my junior high and high school years, I was considered good-looking but very shy by women. I just didn't know how to approach them or what to say or do when I did. I would overthink things in my mind and lived in a world where I would avoid one situations with girls because I would be so nervous and embarrassed of what they would think. Now many people overthink things in their mind and they never take action. They let that overthinking kind of rule their conscience, and this is a lesson right here. Never overthink things in your mind. Yes, it's good to think things through. Here's what's going to happen if I do this, what could happen, what might happen, but it's best not to overthink and just make things happen. Life is short, take chances. In all my years, I've never asked a girl out. Now this guy was saying he's over 30 years old and he's never in his whole life asked to grow out, not even to a dance. Back in high school, I went to 5 dances with 5 different girls, all of whom asked me. These dances were all very awkward situations for me, and I didn't know how to act with girls, and the dates were complete disasters. Needless to say, none of these girls ever asked me out again, so the guy's attractive, women are attracted to him. Women are actually asking him out. See, they're taking that masculine role even back in high school and junior high. They're asking him out, but then on these dates, he doesn't know what to do, so they're disasters, and that's it. That's it for the relationship. My first year of college was spent studying, and never did I socialize or party despite my roommates' encouragement. They were all good guys and gave me the nickname Mr. Straight Lace. They, on the other hand, were both good students and real ladies' men. At the beginning of my second year, I again was staying in the dorms with the same roommates. On our second weekend back, they insisted I go with them to a party that a sorority was having that Friday. They said if I refused they would carry me, so I eventually relented. So that's good. You know, he's now around a couple of guys here for over a year, and they're imparting some, male, alpha male type, characteristics in him to kind of bring him out of his shell, and that's important. Sometimes you have to be forced out, like these guys said, hey, if you don't come with us, we're gonna carry you. So that was good that they did that. Let's see, I didn't know much about the party, but I came to find out after. This was an event where members of the sorority would pick a guy they wanted to spend the night with, as in have sex. So this was gonna be an exciting night. He didn't even know what the hell he was getting into. When we got to the party, everyone was drinking. I've never touched this stuff before, but I decided I would have a beer. My roommates were off working the room while I sat at the edge of the couch alongside couples who were kissing and cuddling. Again, another awkward social situation was about to unfold. So this guy feels like he's totally out of place at this party. I was miserable sitting amongst the party goers and was about to depart, and go back to my lonely dorm room when a beautiful girl approached me and said, "I'd like to spend some time with you if you're interested." Her name was Carrie. I looked at her and said, "Yes, sure." Little did I know at the time I would end up marrying this woman a few years later. We spent the night talking with her, trying to cuddle close to me, but I nervously kept avoiding contact and just kept talking about stupid stuff. So I can kind of picture this in my mind. This guy's nervous, so he's just talking, and that's how he's getting through his nerves. Unlike other women, she was not put off by this and instead stayed with me the entire night just talking away. So obviously she's attracted to this guy, maybe just for the one night stand, or maybe it's more than that, but she's attracted to him. At about 11:30 p.m., she asked if I'd like to go up to her room with her, and I stupidly said, "For what?" She said, "Just to talk." I said okay, and we proceeded upstairs. There I again nervously started talking, and she said, "SHH, we've talked enough. Let's just sit on the bed and cuddle a bit." I again said okay as she took the lead to embrace me. Needless to say, it felt great, and we started kissing, and I nervously started moving my hand to her breast and her private parts, so he's getting exploratory here. Things I had never done before with the woman. Now this guy, as you know, I guess over 20 years old, and this is his first time getting to kind of like second base here. I knew what the next step was internally. So internally I started to get nervous and was contemplating an exit plan in my head, so he's really kind of losing his mind. It sounds like as he's there because he's like, okay, now I know what's next, and I'm not up for doing that. At about 1 a.m., so they're there, messing around here for like an hour and a half. I said I better leave, and she said, "No, please stay." I made up an excuse saying I had to get up early tomorrow and go home. I quickly left and went back to my dorm room and then kept beating myself up in my head for not going further. So you could just picture this guy. He had this good thing right in front of him for the taking, and because of nerves, because of his mind again, he bolts out of there, and then once he does, he regrets it. The next day, I went to the library and read a number of books on intercourse and sex to prepare myself for the big day with Carrie. I also went later that day to the grocery store and bought my first box of condoms and practiced putting one on later that afternoon. I then spent the night in our dorm room waiting by the phone for Carrie to call, but she never did. I was crushed. So here again is a beta move. He really likes this girl. He knows that he was on the brink of having sex with her. So he messed up, but now he has a chance to redeem himself, but instead of calling her and reaching out to her and maybe going over to her place to see her, he basically sits by the phone and waits for her to call again, a real beta move. At about 10:30 at night, 10:30 p.m., I decided to take a walk to clear my head and started walking across the campus over to the general area of where Carrie's sorority house was located. There were a number of couples out walking and holding hands. That's when I spotted a couple about 75 feet from me holding hands and laughing. It was Carrie and another guy. I was devastated, so it's 10:30 at night. I wonder how he saw 75 feet in front of him unless it was kind of a lighted common area or something. I quickly returned back to my room and salt all night. See again this defeatist attitude. He's catastrophized, basically catastrophizing, use that word kind of a made-up word in his mind, the situation, and he's beating himself up. Something you should ever do. I knew I didn't have the balls to call and ask her out, so I just thought she was another woman who I blew a chance with. The school week went by and I still had Carrie on my mind. Friday came and I decided to go out with my roommates to a local bar. So it's good he's starting to get out now. We spent the night drinking, playing pool, and laughing. I also mustered up the nerve to ask a few women to dance and was having a great time. At about midnight, a group of girls walked in, and in the group I spotted Carrie. I was dancing near the door was a girl, and she noticed me right away and kept her eyes locked on me. So here's a situation where this girl she sees him now with another woman, so all of a sudden, his sexual market value goes up, because he's there dancing, having a good time with another girl, and now this girl desires him even more. She desired him before, but now she sees, hey, this guy's got options. After the dance finished, I went to the bathroom to check my look. I then walked out and walked straight up to Carrie and asked her if she wanted to dance. She said yes, and we fast danced a couple of songs. Then a slow dance came on, and instead of bolting for the sidelines, which he probably would have before he got some gumption in him, I instead embraced her, and we started dancing. It was the first time I had ever slow danced. I noticed Carrie really responded to my newfound assertiveness. So she liked that, before he was, she probably just viewed him as, man, this guy's a real loser, he's a total bae. Without probably using those words, but she kind of put him in that category of, oh man, this guy's just maybe a friend zone kind of guy probably after that experience, but now she saw him dancing with another girl. She saw him walk right up to her and ask her to dance and dance with her, slow dance with her. So this girl is probably saying, hey now wait a second, now this guy is probably somebody I could have a relationship with. I like him, he's strong, he's confident, and he goes on to say here as my confidence grew, I asked Carrie if she would come back to my room with me. She was shocked and said yes, I told my roommate I was leaving, and not to come back until at least 3 a.m. We went back to my room, and sparks flew. All the practicing in my head I had done really paid dividends. And we both had a great time. I had finally come of age at the ripe old age of 21. You don't see that much anymore. Carrie and I started seeing each other exclusively thereafter, and throughout the rest of our college years, I however recoiled back into my the male ways, and Carrie began taking the lead on things like where we were going, who we were hanging out with, etc. So he's recoiled back into being a beta male again, a big mistake, because you can see where that got him before, and you can see where being an alpha male and taking the lead on things got him after. So why he would recoil back into that, maybe it's just something subconscious, but it was a big mistake. Midway through our senior year, now listen to this, carrying the girl here asked him to marry her, and he accepted, and he even says here, I know, a real beta male move, yeah. That should never happen, never happen. I mean, hey, she can suggest it, but the man, the alpha male, always has to take the lead in a relationship, in determining the outcome of a relationship. I let her pick out the engagement ring, which cost over $5,000, which I didn't have, so I borrowed the money from my parents. Now listen to this, again, here's another beta male move. I was opposed to buying such an expensive ring, but Carrie said it's her once-in-a-lifetime event, so he relented. Carrie next set our wedding day, and then decided where we would live, so she's determining everything you know in this relationship. It's not even a 50-50, you know, it seems like it's 100% her, and he's just surrendering to her. She determined we would move to Kansas City to better her career chances, even though my career was better situated to the St. Louis area where we currently grew up and lived, so this guy is surrendering his purpose for hers. And again, as I said at the beginning, that is a huge mistake. We got married the summer after our graduation, then moved to Kansas City. Carrie quickly got a job in her profession, but I struggled to find anything in mind and ended up taking a job with a large national sporting retailer as an assistant manager trainee. In the years that followed, Carrie quickly progressed in her career. While I slowly climbed, I was happy for her, but at the same time I was resentful that I had sacrificed my purpose and was working in a job that was a means to an end. So basically, what that means is just a job where he's putting in the hours to get money to basically have a job. But it really wasn't his passion. I love the people I worked with and our customers, but it was not my life's passion. Even so, we lived happily married with me, following the happy life, happy wife mantra. And he says here in parentheses again, or in brackets, I know another beta male characteristic. After 5 years of marriage, Carrie, see here again, Carrie decided it was time for us to have a baby, so she stopped birth control, and she quickly got pregnant with our daughter, who was the light of my life. After about 6 months after the birth of our daughter, Carrie's personality changed. She was very moody and constantly picked fights with me for the smallest things. She also began to throw back-handed criticism at me because I was working in retail. Now there's nothing wrong with working in retail. You can have wonderful careers in retail as you move up in the management ranks. Retail was a very good feel. It's not for everybody as long hours, it's hard work, but it's a very good career, and it's a career you should be proud of. And he goes on to say here, it didn't matter that I was working my ass off helping to raise our daughter, doing most of the household chores, paying most of the bills, and being a good husband. For some reason, it almost seemed seen as if she was falling out of love with me. And I think what's happening here, she sees this guy as just a complete beta male, that no matter what she does to him, he's gonna be around because she's been the only love of his life. And she knows she's got him on a string. Now she's working in this corporate environment where she's probably around a lot of alpha males, and in her mind she's probably comparing, man, my husband is such a soft individual, and look at these guys, how strong they are, they're leaders, and my husband is just milk toast, you know, type of thing. That's what's probably going on in her mind. This shitty treatment went on for about 6 months and progressed where she started making snide and backhanded comments about me in front of her friends, most of whom were co-workers at her company. Definitely not good, definitely not good. She's really getting aggressive with him, abusive, mentally abusive, and that's not good for anyone, male or female. Many of these friends were men, which made me feel even worse. But being the ever-loving beta male, I never said a thing to her about it. Instead, I just soldered on being the best husband and father I could be. This is where my life takes a sharp turn for the better, so let's find out what happened. It was the Saturday, and one of the executives at Carrie's company was having a party at his home, and we were invited along with about 12 other couples. We had a babysitter lined up, and in the hours leading up to the party, Carrie was picking fights with me over nothing and giving me instructions on how to behave and what to say and not to say. She actually told me, you better not embarrass me. I again just took the abuse and said nothing. Now can you imagine somebody saying that to their spouse, whether male or female, you better not embarrass me in front of these people? I mean, totally inappropriate, totally disrespectful. I mean, that is just man just hearing that and hearing that this guy took that and just went along with it. You feel bad for him, and in another respect, you can't feel bad for him because he's putting up with it. We got to the party, and I followed her instructions and things were going well. After dinner, everyone was sitting around a fire pit, talking. I went out to the restroom and to grab an additional set of drinks for Carrie, and the bar was set up behind a mound just behind the fire pit. But you could hear the conversations clearly. So apparently you can't see the bar from this fire pit, but you can if you're at the bar. You can hear the conversations that are going on at this fire pit. As I was waiting for the bartender to mix our drinks, I heard Carrie talking about me to her co-workers and executives. Paraphrasing now, she said, "My husband works in retail. I know, a real embarrassment, right? I mean, what's the embarrassment? I mean, this woman's got problems." My soul was crushed. What she next said turned me from a timid beta male into a raging red pilled alpha. She actually said I only keep him around because he's a good house mule and is a good father. Now can you imagine someone saying that to strangers or to co-workers about their spouse, again, whether male or female, saying someone's a good house mule, and the only reason you keep them around is because of that, and because they're a good father? I mean, again, totally disrespectful. This drew a loud chuckle from her co-workers. I was pissed. Good, I'm glad this guy got pissed and felt like charging into the circle and laying down the law to her right there, but instead I walked into the house, set the drinks on the kitchen counter, and went out the front door, walking about 2.5 miles back to our house. I got back to our house about an hour later. My phone rang, and it was Carrie. She said, "Where the hell are you? You embarrass me." I said, "I'm home, and I really don't give a shit if you're embarrassed or not," and hung up on her. She tried calling me back 3 times and sent me several text messages asking what was wrong, which I ignore. About 30 minutes later, she arrived home and came into the house with a worried look on her face. She said, "What's wrong? What happened?" I said, "I heard everything you told your effing co-workers about me, and I am beyond pissed." She laughed and said, I was only joking." I told her it was no joke, and that I was at a point now where I am totally miserable in our relationship, and would have left her tonight if it wasn't for our daughter. So all of this mental anguish she has put on him over the last, I think he said, 6 months, that's been building up into a volcano, and then her saying these things about him to her co-workers and executives that cause an explosion, and now this guy is letting it all out. What he should have done is laid down the law with this woman right up front when he first got involved with her, but again, he was a beta, and he didn't find his alpha until this event happened. He had to be pushed over the limit to find his alpha with this. She burst into tears and said, "Are you serious?" I told her I was dead serious. She then said, "Are you no longer happy with me? Don't you love me?" I told her I am absolutely miserable with you, and have been for some time. I continued saying I thought by being a good husband and father, you would change, but instead you got more verbally and mentally abusive. I should have never tolerated your shit, but I did, but I no longer will. To me, you are nothing more than a selfish bitch." You could see the look of shock and worry on her face, like her whole world had been turned upside down. She played it with me, saying she was sorry and asking me to forgive her, and saying that I was the love of her life and she couldn't bear to lose me. She went on to say that she would quit her job to keep me if I wanted her to do so. I told her that I accept her apology, but I will never forgive or forget how she treated me over the past year. That I told her that I needed time alone to think about things and would be sleeping in the guest room from this point forward. She again started crying, begging and pleading with me to come to our bedroom. I simply told her no, and with that I went upstairs and took a shower in our guest bathroom, locking the door to prevent her from following me. I then retired for the night to the guest bedroom, still fuming over what she said. It took me several hours to fall asleep, but eventually I did. When I woke in the morning, I felt the presence of someone in the room with me, and when I opened my eyes, Carrie was there on the edge of the bed, just looking at me like an adoring puppy. I asked how long she had been there, and she said she had been watching me sleep for a couple of hours. She moved to put her hand on my leg, and I moved it, and got up to use the bathroom. It was Sunday morning, and we spent the rest of the day with our daughter, and talked endlessly about how things would be between us going forward. I laid down the law, so finally, he's got the balls now on how and when we would have sex, how she would treat me, and that if she ever disrespected me again, I would divorce her on the spot. I told her this is not a threat, it was a promise. She readily agreed to all of my demands. So remembering this story, when this guy took the initiative, the woman was very attracted to him. If you remember, when they were out that bar and he walked up to her, said, "Hey, let's dance." He danced with her, he danced with her, then he said, "Hey, let's go back to my room," and she went right back there with him and had sex with him. She wanted this guy to be a leader, but he never was. He retreated back into that beta male role, and now he stepped up again, and you can see how she's responding. She's very positive to all this. After our talk, we quickly got back to sleeping together, and our relationship and love life has never been better or more adventurous. That was a year ago, and things in our lives have changed for the better. I got a big promotion to a district-level position in St. Louis. Carrie didn't hesitate about moving, even though it meant she may not be able to climb the corporate ladder at her company's headquarters in Kansas City. In fact, I can honestly say that Carrie seems to feel much more comfortable with her life as a wife and mother with her career now in third place. It seems that all along, now listen to this, all along, she was looking for me to step up and put her in her place and be the man of the house, which he never did until that event pushed him over the edge. I wish I had done this years ago, but I was too much of a blue pill beta male to realize what was going on. So that was the story, and again, the lesson here is, you know, there's multiple lessons, but a key one here is you've got to find your alpha. You've got to be the leader in the relationship. Okay, these relationships where you have masculine women who are leading, they may last for a long time, but they're not going to be happy relationships. They're not going to be normal relationships, and both parties are going to be unhappy. So let's, recap again where we started with the key learnings here. Number 1, masculine women are ugly inside and are not marriage committed relationship material. Beta males are initially attracted to these women, but soon regret it. It's never a good situation. Just like this guy, he was attracted to her because she was beautiful, but also because she was kind of a leader. She was kind of taking the lead and directing it to do this and that, and he felt comfortable just slipping into that beta male role. And listening to what she said, they would do women want a man to take the lead and be the alpha in the relationship. Even if she has a strong career, she still wants the man to lead the home, to make decisions, to be bold, not be passive, not be more in a feminine role, and you saw that very clearly in this story. And then the 2 final ones: never sacrificed your purpose for a woman. You can see, after he found his alpha, he started putting his career first, and they went for his career promotion, which caused them to move away from her job, where she not away from her job. She still had her job, but she wasn't in the headquarters where she would likely get promoted. So again, he's following her purpose, and she's very gladly following him. She wants him to take the lead. And the final thing, and this goes for men and women, never let anyone disrespect you. Never let that happen. This guy put up with the abuse again. I kind of felt sorry for him a little bit because he was so naive. But then as things went on, it's like, guy, that's your problem. You're allowing that you get what you tolerate. So that's this week's video. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, please share it. If you've got comments about this video, please put the comments down there, and I will talk to you on the next one.